Of the 8 billion people in the world right now, most will not know that these posts exist. And of the very few that know about it, some will like it, some will not care, and some will hate it. And that's okay. But for the one person that this message is intended and whose life could potentially shift, it's worth moving heaven and earth to share this message today. You see, you and I, we are afraid of shining our lights or doing that which God has called us to do because we are afraid that not everybody is going to like it. We are afraid of rejection. But I'm always reminded that Jesus was perfect. But do you realize that Jesus was very little known in his time? Think about it. There was no technology in terms of internet and social media and communication. Transportation network was very, very limited. Jesus, for all practical purposes, operated in a very small radius, and his influence during his 33-year stint on earth was very limited. I find it ironical, though, that he came to save and impact the world. Jesus was very little known, and for those who knew him, some liked him, some were indifferent and didn't care, and some hated him to the point of crucifying him. Now, Jesus tells you and me that a servant is no greater than his master. So what makes you and I think that we can get everyone to like us? Hello, my friend. A very blessed Sunday, January 5th to you and to you, as I pray that this finds you and you as well from wherever and whenever you're tuning in. And the message for the day is not everyone will know you, like you, or even care. And that's okay. Shine your light anyway. I'm here to encourage you and me to give up the expectation and even the need of having everybody like us. So I want to talk to you first about redefining success. In a world where we define success by quantity and by likes. How many people liked my post? How many people commented on the picture I put on social media? But in God's economy, success is defined very, very differently. So the first point I want to tell you is that you and I are performing for an audience of one. There's a story that's told of a man to whom God appeared and he told him to push against a boulder, huge rock. And he did it for many months on end. Then after a lot of months, the boulder never moved, and he came back to God very disappointed and frustrated. And he said, God, you gave me an assignment to push this boulder and it's not moved. Why are you wasting my time? And God told him lovingly, the assignment was not to move the boulder, it was to push against the boulder. Then God nudged him to take a look at the muscles that he had developed. And he said, hey, look at the muscles you have developed. Now come, let me show you what it is that I needed these muscles for. You see, you and I sometimes try to direct outcomes, or we judge success based on what we think the outcome should be. And we forget that he's the Lord of the harvest. The harvest or the outcomes belong to him, and he's the one who gets to not only give them, but define what they will look like. We need to understand that success happens at the point of obedience. At the point of obedience that the man pushed upon the rock, irrespective of whatever outcomes he thought needed to happen, he was already successful. And to the audience of one, God, success happened at the point of obedience. So your success happens at the point when you obey what God is asking you to do, not based on whatever outcome you think should come out of you doing that thing. That's number one. Success in the kingdom is also not measured by the number of likes. but by the quality of likes. You see, in God's kingdom, the shepherd leaves 99 sheep to go for the one. Jesus came and he died for all of us collectively. But if he had to, and actually in effect when he came, he also came to die for each one of us singularly. So listen, that which you do may not impact the world, but to the one person that it touches, it could mean the world. See, the whole idea of something or a video going viral is the idea that you introduce a video or content into social media, and then in one small space, and then that thing, like a virus, spreads. But do you realize that immunization works the same way? You introduce a small antidote into one small point, a small antidote in one small localized place of the area, but it spreads. So what if maybe by something you do, you so impact one life that it spreads in that one life and transforms the life of that one person forever? But please understand that we are all connected. Hey, I've heard of this analogy. Have you ever considered that if you go to the shore, seashore, and you take one pebble or one grain of sand and you cast it into the sea, that you have forever changed the shape of that coastline? Listen, we are all connected. And you and I might do something that may seem insignificant here, may never be recognized in the world, but in God's grand purpose, you have moved the entire shoreline of his story, or as I like to say, history, his story. And then the last idea I want to leave you with on this point of redefining success is, what if the one sheep that is being transformed through your act of obedience is you? Listen, I come on here and I post these messages because I believe that at some level God has called me, number one. And I do believe that there is one person that needs to hear this message today. But even if nobody watched this message, by the very fact of doing this, I am transformed. I am growing in the grace that God has called me to. I have already, at the point of obedience, honored the audience of one, and he is pleased. Even if that transformation is for me, it is worth it. So again, remember that success constitutes obedience to the audience of one. He celebrates you. Success in the kingdom also means one sheep over many. If you can touch one life, then you are successful, because we are all connected. And then lastly, that one life could be yours. You are successful because you yourself are blessed anyway. So my friends, I've told you what it is that I'm called to do. I'm called to share God's light and love through speaking, through writing, through music. What are you called to do? Maybe you're called as a chef. Maybe you're called in healthcare. Maybe you are called as an artist. Maybe you are called as a scientist. Maybe you are called in the marketplace as a businessman or woman. Maybe you are called into politics to make our world better. What has God called you to do? I want to just gently remind you that not everybody will know about you. And of those that know about you, some will like you, some will not care, and some might just even hate you. But as you've heard me say before, shine your light anyway, because when you let God's light shine on and in you and through you uniquely, then his light is exalted. The world that you serve, whether that's the world globally or just the world in terms of the sphere of influence that God has given you, the world is edified and you yourself will be enriched. Hey, as a parting thought, here in Kansas City, we are in the middle of not a snowstorm, but an ice storm. That's when it rains ice. Like, yes, it's rain that's coming down as water, but because the temperatures are so cold, by the time it's hitting the ground, it's ice. We are in an ice rink, and actually will probably be shut in the next day or two. But here's the funny thing. If I call EMS right now, they will do emergency response services. If I dial 911 and I have a real emergency, I am sure that they will do what they can to come to my rescue. Matter of fact, I remember a time when we had a kitchen accident about 2 years ago, and EMS came to our rescue. Why? Because for this one life, they see it worth to do what they can. That said, they're human beings and they have limitations, and I'm sure that there are times when they just maybe might be unable to because of limitations. But listen, we have an EMS response service in the Lord who, for one ship, will move heaven and earth to come and give his life. And matter of fact, we just celebrated Christmas a few days ago when we commemorate how he did that. Jesus deemed you and I worthy as moving heaven and earth and traversing heaven and earth to come and save us. I pray that, number one, you will receive that amazing gift that Jesus came to give, and that, number two, you too will shine your light. You'll follow suit and shine your light for that one life that is worth connecting with the light of Christ in you. That's it, my friends. Have a blessed Sunday, January 5th. Until next time, God bless. Bye-bye.